Okay, thank you for joining us today. My name is Chris Discotto. I'm Director of Sales for Salamander Designs. Really appreciate you taking time out of your Friday to learn about Salamander. And this is going to be a somewhat different webinar than you've seen in the past if you've joined me before. We are going to be doing a case study that we're really excited about. But just before that, I want to give just a quick update on how we are supporting the Surface Hub. So as many of you know, the Surface Hub 85-inch just came out. And I want to let you know that we have great solutions for the Surface Hub 85, just like we do on the Surface Hub 50. So our extra large carts, for those of you familiar with them, are completely compatible with the 85-inch Surface Hub, and also our furniture as well. So we're going to be talking about a lot of the furniture today. And as you may know, one of the nice things about our furniture, it allows you to mount heavy panels to the wall without any construction, any conduit, any backing. So our furniture is also completely compatible with the 85-inch Surface Hub and also the 50-inch Surface Hub as well. So if you have any questions about that, there'll be contact information at the end. But who I'm really excited to introduce is our special guest today, Shaun Barkman, who is a global account manager for AVI-SPL out of the Chicago office. It's been my pleasure to work with Shaun over the past year, and he is joining us and taking time out of his day as well, which we really appreciate. So Shaun, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and also about your career in AV?
Sure. Thanks for the opportunity to join with this, and appreciate the partnership with Salamander. So yeah, I'm Shaun Barkman. I'm a global account manager with AVI-SPL. I've been with the organization just over 11 years. Kind of started my AV career selling two-channel hi-fi and back in the early days, college days, which kind of led me to the residential market. I did a tour duty in Resi for just over 10 years, and when the housing market kind of popped, I transitioned over into the commercial world where I really have a focus and specialty in enterprise level clients, and kind of do that day in and day out.
Great. So it sounds like from your career that you focus really on AV, and haven't really been doing furniture. What made you decide on Salamander, and now's the time to present furniture to your enterprise client?
For the client in particular that we're focused on, it was kind of a starting conversation with their senior leadership and goals and directions for the organization, starting towards the end of 19, going into 20 pre-COVID. And one of the big things going into 20 that we were going to have to figure a way to manage was cost avoidance. We need to save money. We need to do more with less. So what we started to see was a trend where corporate real estate and facilities really didn't have any budget allocation, yet IT had a need. They were in the middle of workplace transformation, and the need to upgrade rooms and get them ready for the shift of their UC platforms and more of that collaborative approach. So that was the initial reason why starting look at what Salamander brought to the table with no room remediation, allowed us to provide some standardization, the flexibility and speed to market that we could bring rooms alive, really fed into the business case that ultimately we ended up building, which allowed us to get traction, at least a conversation with all parties.
Great. And at that end user, who did you originally bring up a Salamander to? Was it was it an AV person? Was it a facilities person?
Actually, a little bit of both, right? So typically in these enterprise accounts, it's common to see that the groups are siloed, running with the same projects, with the same goals, but with different internal team goals and deliverables that they're responsible for. So the conversation started with IT that hey, what if? In that's really how we proposed it. What if we could reduce time to bring these rooms together? Time is always something that's been a challenge, and project timelines have gotten shorter and shorter, definitely over the years. So for that, and then on the real estate side, the ability to be able to put something in a room that doesn't require all this construction and cost and time and money and planning, was really advantageous. So we kind of tied the story together and kind of both sides of the key stakeholders responsible for delivering technology.
Great. And, I know the next step there is you have some your great demos at your facility in Chicago. Tell us about the demo and how that went. What the customer think. When they saw the furniture you have on site.
Yeah, so when we brought them in, initially we were talking about the Huddle and the Huddle Light product. Um, and they really liked the fit and finish. They liked the scalability, that it wasn't kind of a one and done product, that there were options to fit it to every room for the most part based on their standards, both on their facilities and furniture side as well as the IT standards. So we brought in all the stakeholders from the IT side, facilities, furniture, corporate real estate, really to show them the fit and finish, show them how easy it is to put together. And that's really what allowed us to kind of get to that next step.
Sure. And I know that when talking to you, prior to the demo that you did, we talked about that the next step, the goal of the demo was to really get you and them on the phone and doing a Zoom meeting with us as well. So that first a Zoom meeting that we did for that review with the stakeholders, how did that meeting go from your side of the equation, and what were their thoughts after the meeting ended?
Well, I think that the key thing that they picked up on was just the engagement from a Salamander perspective, that they weren't just a furniture reseller. Like, they had a vested interest in making sure the solution was a good fit. But we kind of had this light bulb moment when we were doing the overview of solutions, and that light bulb moment from both sides of the fence to go, wow, this really makes sense. There's a vast portfolio. We can adhere to our standards. We can, kind of looking at this, do everything that we've set out to do from a cost savings perspective, from maintaining a standards perspective, from a scalability and speed to room perspective. The other big thing they liked is, yeah, there was a great portfolio of standard items, but the conversation of being able to go off book and have options there to match existing furniture or existing finishes really resonated with the real estate and furniture folks.
And from that meeting, I remember you talking to the AV people at the enterprise customer and also the facilities people, and it was a great call because you would actually hear them both talking about their needs and going back and forth about things, with the facilities design people really interested in our aesthetic and the materials we use. Whereas some of the AV people were really interested in, how does the racking work? How does the cooling work? And things like that. So it was a really dynamic conversation we had with this group. And that led to, our next step, which was, me and you working closely together along with some of your pre-sales design engineers, going over that call with the AV spec and also the material spec. And this was the first time really that, Shaun, we had worked together and that you had worked with Salamander to design such a room. Can you tell us about your thoughts at the time and how that worked out?
Yeah, so I think through that pre-sales design process, the client really started to see the synergies of having the vendor engaged, right, and being able to be included in somewhat of the AV conversation. And kind of the flip side on the IT side is, the ability to have that furniture integration conversation up front, worrying about the table cuts and the microphone cuts, and how that's all going to come together. And this was the first time ever that we were able to really hash all that out and have that fully baked before we're walking into a room and facilities was handing over whatever they purchased. So it definitely helped close some gaps from a design perspective. We took it one step further and were able to provide engineer drawings for both the team, the furniture manufacturer, the real estate team, and did a formal submittal process, which helped finalize decisions much easier, allow for better field coordination when we did roll it out, and actually eliminated or mitigated the potential for change order, scope creep, and it really created some efficiencies.
And from this, we then took the drawings that we did, and you can see some of the drawings here. We also did renders as well, using both our materials and and some Wilson art materials that they wanted to see applied to our tables. And then we went back and we had another conversation with that group. From there, they took all that information and decided to proceed with a proof of concept. So can you tell me, how that proof of concept rolled out, and what was different about this proof of concept as others that you've been involved with other products before?
Yeah, the great thing it was a paid proof of concept. So I mean, they initially rolled out with 9 huddles for the first project, right? So there was some coordination and contracting actually with their furniture reseller due to where budget allocation was in relationships, master agreements, and things of that nature internally. We formed a partnership with their furniture reseller to deliver the product. And that also allowed for us to kind of handhold the first proof of concept, and pushing that through to make sure that all the end user, the furniture folks, all really got the best experience possible, which led to further conversations as we're looking at other things on that delivery process, that deployment process, and kind of creating a playbook of operational deployments, both for the client and internally between our organizations. So they were thrilled. I mean, we were on time, in budget. For the first time, AV actually had the ability to go in and do their final testing and commissioning and user acceptance and testing long before the go live date. Typically, we're waiting for furniture, whereas we were allowed to kind of maintain schedules a little tighter, which allowed us to do that.
And every project obviously rolls out a little differently. One of the cool things about this one that you mentioned is that their furniture provider, their standard furniture provider, they have an open PO with. So in order to buy furniture, they needed to give a PO to that furniture provider, but they are then in turn giving you guys a PO. So everyone has visibility into everything that's happening at any at any one time, right? So that led to a lot of those synergies that you were talking about. And I was actually also working with that furniture provider on this project. And another thing that happened here is a lot of times the AV integrator installs the furniture. In this case, they wanted their furniture provider to do it. And I worked with the foreman on that job, and they were concerned because they had never worked with Salamander before. After that project, I was talking to him, and he goes, "I wish this is the only thing that we sold, because it goes together so quickly, much faster than the standard furniture that we use." So that was great feedback, from that supplier as well.
Well, yeah, and if I could tack on to that, I mean, we've been working in tandem to some extent, or parallel, I should say, with this furniture vendor since day one. I mean, they're on every project just like we are. But we are able to tie the worlds together. So now the value prop that we've got in place with the furniture reseller is we can be your technical SME, right? And the principal flat out told me, we run into situations all the time where we're forced to be the AV expert. We don't have those expertise. Now we've got a solution that we can talk about, solve problems, and you can be our technical resource. So that's really led to the expansion of this relationship and making that furniture vendor more relevant and helping us to solve problems.
Yeah, and that's really, what was the proof of concept, right? I think that they had already seen the furniture. We had already sent them samples. They knew it was phenomenal quality. I think the proof of concept is how is the rollout going to work? Can Salamander deliver on time? How hard is it going to be to install, move through the building, so on and so forth? So that's what they were proving out, more than is the furniture good. They already knew the furniture was good, and that's why they were willing to buy 9 for the concept of how fast does 9 rooms go in, which was, I think really what they were trying to prove out here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that rollout happened. I believe it was all installed late last year, November timeframe, and we're already into the next project, which is pretty exciting. And so this project, part of it is actually shipping later this month, and we have some that is going to ship next month. But tell us how this project came to be? Because this moved beyond huddles. I mean, they're doing huddles, but they're also doing more. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so during the design and build process, looking at this next project, it was already assumed, that this was going to be, a Salamander deployment. They immediately capitalized on the cost savings within their OPCs and their budgets that they put together. So there were three larger conference rooms that we are allowed to utilize the low profile cabinets as well as tables. And there were 14 additional huddle rooms that came into that picture. So the exciting thing is they were willing to, hey, let's take a look at tables, let's look at cabinets. IT was excited that that they could maintain their standards even in these larger rooms without having to add complexity, having a localized deployment versus a centralized deployment, which is something that they were trying to move to. And we're working our way through that at the moment. So the ability to have that upfront coordination again with the table cuts, and they're an Extron client, so they have these large devices that come down from the table for their retractor series, and how does that fit into table legs, and just a lot of the pain points that we experience in the field, and having to pull audibles in order to maintain dates and maintain budget and timeline really came off the table. So we're reaping the benefits now as we're kind of be going live with that project in the next 45 days.
Yeah, and I remember being on the call when we were reviewing the plans for this project, and they were talking about the huddle spaces. And these huddle spaces are the same types of rooms as their private offices, and it's even on the same floor. So as they were going over, which is going to be a huddle, which is going to be a private office, and then they got to the last three, and this is really cool. So they get to the last three, and they're debating over whether, is two of them going to be huddles, one of them going to be private office, what's going to happen. And then someone else from the client chimes in and says, remember, because we're using Salamander, all of these rooms have the same infrastructure. We don't have to decide right now if this is going to be a huddle or it's going to be a private office, because the infrastructure is the same. We can make that determination later on, which is, I think, one of the great points about why does facilities like using our product is it makes it more agile, and the ability to adapt as time goes on. So not only can they wait until later on to buy that furniture because the infrastructure isn't different for the room, but as it changes, a private office can become a huddle can become a private office as that need changes too, which they're really latching onto. So, with this, enterprise client, how are you bringing Salamander to other clients?
Well, the first is asking a lot of questions, right? Trying to find out, can we solve a problem? What issues are you having? How do we tie the worlds together? I mean, where's the value there? So that's always the first step. I think the second step is, really positioning Salamander as a solution versus solely a furniture manufacturer, a furniture reseller. As much as it is furniture, it is more than that. We're kind of positioning, more of like it being an all-in-one. So if folks that are familiar with some of the Cisco product or Zoom Room products, you pull it out of the box, you set it up, you plug it into power and data, and you walk away. That's kind of how we're positioning it. So creating custom SKUs with the help of Salamander to tie in the furniture piece to the AV piece, almost in like a package to go, okay, you're a Poly shop, you're a Zoom shop, you're a Cisco shop, here's something out of the box that we can put into the room. And with all the benefits that we talked about, the ease of deployment, the speed of deployment, the lack of infrastructure requirements, and that's been gaining a lot of traction. So just trying to align it to what's important to the client, having that facilities engagement with the cost savings and standards for the IT folks. That's really what's getting the traction and attention from the other users I'm talking to.
And we've talked before about this, and I think you've touched on, why you're positioning it this way. But just to kind of clarify for the people on, there's sometimes a kind of a divide in certain organizations between the AV people and the facilities and the design people that can be, somewhat difficult to navigate. So how are you, because you are normally working with the AVIT person at that company, how are you, kind of helping them navigate, what could be, something that's maybe political within them or, within that company or siloed?
Well, part of it is you do have to have buy-in from both sides of the organization, and sometimes that can be tough. But I think reinforcing the value and the reasons why it helps bring those two groups together. And at the end of the day, we're the one back to pat. So if it's going to go well, at least we're masters of our own destiny there. And I think we've definitely been able to change some opinions, perceptions of what AV means. Some of the facilities and real estate folks know it's a necessary evil, but they hate dealing with it. So when they can put that onus on someone else, namely us, and then we can still maintain our relationships, or vice versa. I mean, there's a lot of organizations where we're just on the facilities and real estate side, and IT knows that we exist, but it just allows us to really bring the groups together.
Yeah. And what I've seen, with the client that we were just talking about, and also with other clients that we work with, is, furniture is not always included in the AV budget, but our product really has benefits for both sides, both AV and for facilities. So AV loves the fact that it goes together really easily. It works with your wire management, your racking, your cooling, holds those big displays. Facilities, once they understand that we will work with their materials, we can match millwork, we're going to make sure that their rooms are as beautiful as ever. They really love the fact that we have shorter lead times than standard furniture companies, and that savings on infrastructure, plus the fact that they can deploy more rooms quicker, facilities really like. So once everyone gets together and realizes, hey, this can actually be good for everybody, it's a real slam dunk. The other thing that they like is our life cycle, right? So what I'm talking to a lot of these companies, one thing that they keep on talking about is they don't want to have something that can't be reused, right? I've heard the word regenerative, many times in the past few months, and they want to be able to know that what they're buying today is going to be able to work with whatever happens in the future. I mean, that's one of the things that Salamander gives them in spades. So, for example, when you're mounting these displays to to our Huddle furniture or to a cabinet like you see here, that is something that can be moved, right? Where standard construction just can't be moved the way that a cabinet can. Also, our cabinets are designed in such a way that you can also change the decor. So, that cabinet happens to be white with a black top, but maybe 3 years from now, it's walnut. You don't have to replace the whole cabinet in order to refresh that decor. So that means that it's very easy to keep this around for a very, very long time. Furniture normally does have a long lifespan, but this really can go beyond decor refreshes, beyond redoing a whole floor, moving office spaces, and this furniture can continue to add value to those new spaces, and help save that organization time and money again. So that is something that facilities absolutely likes. It's something that designers like. It's something that architects like as well, using this process over standard construction once they get used to that concept. So I want to thank everyone for joining me today. There's just a couple more things. If you want to learn more about Salamander, we have some great webinars. If you want to get recordings of the webinars, you can email custom@salamanderdesigns.com that you can see on the screen here. You can use that email address for any questions about Salamander, or you can join me live with some new webinars by going to salamandercommercial.com/webinars. Shaun, I know that you're out of the Chicago office. What area do you service?
So, AVI-SPL is a digital workplace services provider serving all of the major global markets, right? So we have 3,200 folks across 53 locations we have the ability to service any client pretty much anywhere. So I'm happy to be based out of Chicago, but as a global account manager, I have multiple projects going in every corner of the earth right now. So it's an opportunity to be able to help wherever there is a need. So I can be reached at the information here, phone number and email. I'm also on all the major socials. Feel free to reach out. Happy to help.
All right, great. So Salamander too is a global organization. So we have inventory of our mobile carts, all across the globe. But we also ship our furniture everywhere as well. In fact, I just shipped a 30-foot conference room table to India. So AVI-SPL, is a phenomenal reseller for us. Great partner. Thank you very much, Shaun. And we support their projects not only in the United States but also across the globe as well. So whether you're an organization that has office spaces in Europe, in India, in South America, in China, we can help standardize your projects, your meeting spaces, across all of those countries. So now I'm going to open up to questions. If anyone has any questions, you can type it into the chat box or into the Q&A box. All right, so someone's asking about standard lead times for furniture. So our furniture generally ships from PO to shipping and last sign-offs and everything in about 30 business days. So really quickly, our mobile carts, typically it's about 5 days. Okay, great. Well, there's no more questions. Thank you very much, Shaun, for joining me today. Really, really appreciate it. I know your time is available, and everyone that has joined us on the webinar today, thank you so much. I will be sending out a recording of this webinar, so if you wanted to share this with any of your colleagues or wanted to revisit any parts of it, you can definitely do that. Shaun, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. As always, appreciate the partnership and look forward to the next projects.
Thanks. I do too. Have a good weekend.